Shalom friends, this is Bakari Suelto in Israel. Today I'll start from the end because I know that many of you are going to ask me, what would I have said or what would I have done if one of the kidnapped people were my own child? Today my answer, I would do the impossible to bring them back home. I wouldn't care about anything, not Israel, the country I love, the soldiers, the Palestinians, the innocent or future victims. It could be you who are watching this video when you come to visit us in Israel in the coming years. I'd march day and night, wear 10 yellow badges and post daily on all my social networks for the release of my son, but I don't have him. So, can I allow myself to speak in defense of Israel, in defense of the next victims, in defense of the future of all of us? I know that what I'm about to say will surprise many, even make some angry, and maybe some will feel admiration or respect. But I have to say it. I could play the video I made at the end of October 2023 because I have nothing new to say. And it's not that I'm a wise man or a prophet, or that I want to act like a professional analyst. I'm none of those things, but I have lived here for 40 years and I know our history from the beginning. If they are released, I'll be in the front row to applaud and cry for their freedom. Don't get it twisted. I, like everyone else, want all of this to end once and for all so people stop suffering, whether they're innocent people, civilians, soldiers, families, or the kidnapped still alive. But I'm against the price we're going to pay, and that's what I want to talk to you about face to face, not just wandering around over there. Like I said last week, I don't run short or fast races, I run marathons, and in my opinion, that's what Israel should do. Special mention to President Donald Trump for his efforts to end the conflict before I continue. But my friends, in my view, that's not how conflicts end, not in this region. The Bible warns about it, the weekly portion warns about it. While I am here speaking to you in the synagogues of Israel and around the world, the last portion of the last book of Deuteronomy called Besot Abraha is being finished. We have reached the end, not only the end of the Torah, but the end of an era, and it is no coincidence. The portion Besot Abraha is the last word of Moshe Moses before he died. After 40 years of deserts, rebellions, victories and defeats, Moshe does not curse, does not complain, does not negotiate. He blesses, and I quote, "And this is the blessing with which Moshe, the man of God, blessed the children of Israel before his death." Pay attention. That phrase marks a huge difference with modern politics, with current wars, with the way that nowadays nations close their chapters. My friends, Moshe doesn't finish his mission by signing treaties or looking for mediators. He finishes by speaking directly, face to face, with his people and with his God, Moshe. Moshe blesses each of the 12 tribes, reaffirms their identity, and makes it clear who we are and why we exist. He doesn't try to please the enemy. He tries to remind the people who their ally is. That scene sums up what Israel should learn today. You don't make deals with terrorists. Moshe didn't make a deal with Pharaoh. David didn't make a deal with the Amalekites, who, by the way, kidnapped children and women in Gaza. Yes, the Bible itself says it. David returned from a battle to Ziklag, found the city burned, and his wives, children, and the women of the people kidnapped. What did he do? He wept with his men, pursued and defeated the Amalekites, destroyed them, and rescued all the captives and wounded. This is how, my friends, life is protected. This is how the dignity of a people is not surrendered. Memory is honored. Silence is not bought. I've said it 1,000 times in the last 2 years, and I'm going to keep saying it. I'm willing for my own children to keep risking their lives, fighting until we break the bones of the last terrorist, erase their memory, and rescue every last one of the hostages alive. Because I'm not willing to negotiate with terrorists, not with those from the Middle East. Moshe knew evil can't be defeated with kind words or diplomacy. It says so here. He was also in Egypt. Could he negotiate with the pharaohs at the table? No. His last action wasn't political, it was spiritual. His legacy wasn't a truce, but a conviction. Which one? That Israel had to remain different even when surrounded by enemies. And that distinction, that moral strength, could you say it comes from not selling your soul? It's what the whole world seems to have forgotten today. Friends, many rush to sign agreements with murderers posing as politicians. That's what Hamas is. Moshe teaches us that truth, true peace, is not built with those who love war, but with those who respect life. And that's why Moshe's last word was a blessing. And if we want to remain Israel, ours cannot be less than that, a firm, pure, and fearless word. I said it on the first day of the war. I warned that we were not going to win it with pretty words or with truces that would hide the truth. And not because we lack strength, but because those we face are not looking for love. They're not looking for ways to live together. The only thing they seek is annihilation. Tomorrow as well. That's why I said from the beginning that any agreement would only be a pause, that we would end up in the same place again. Negotiating with Hamas, even if they give us guarantees, is like closing the scroll of the Torah and opening it again at Genesis to start all over again. But unlike the Torah, without having learned anything. You sign today, in a few weeks you rewrite, and so on until the next clash. That's not strategy. I don't accept the stance of those who act tough, but in reality, delegate the decision to outside promises. I don't agree with Trump or Netanyahu, although I respect the way they handle this. More than strength, I personally see weakness. They promise quick solutions, they carry out half-hearted commitments, at least for me. And they leave the people of Israel with the feeling that security depends on a handshake that can be broken. Tomorrow, a handshake with Hamas. The story of Besot Abraham doesn't offer shortcuts. Moses didn't leave a policy of temporary agreements. Moses, we have to learn, left a blessing that demands consistency. Blessing the people means protecting their future and not mortgaging it for a moment of relief. So, when assessing any negotiation, the only question that matters is, does it protect people's lives and continuity or merely delay violence? You already know my answer. I prefer clarity. We don't negotiate principles. There are no trades of security for legitimacy. If the solution just takes sides in the conflict, it's not a real solution. And if the leaders appear strong but act as intermediaries of fragile promises, then is the promise or the strength just an appearance? From the first day I said that there was no need to negotiate. Not because I'm a cruel person, but because I have a memory, because history shouted it to us too many times. Each deal with terror costs more than the last. I said it, and today that price is impossible for me to pay. I don't want to pay it. The street pressure, protest shouts, signs and cries, all of it seemed legitimate, human, and understandable to me. But now let's admit, and it must be said, that all of that raised the price of blackmail. When the enemy realized they could manipulate the people's emotions, they started playing with our pain, and they succeeded. Now we are the ones who have to pay that ransom. Of those who should have at least been released on October 8th unconditionally. And I'll say it again. I'm glad for the hostages and their families who are going to return home. Anyone with a heart should feel that. But at the same time, it hurts me that no one looks back, that no one wants to remember how we got to this point. That everyone has now erased 2 years of suffering. We act as if history doesn't exist, as if this was the first time, and no, it's not. Each cycle starts the same way. A massacre, a negotiation, a truce, a new attack, and then back to the beginning again. It's the same thing we do this week with the Torah. We finish Bezot HaBeracha and go back to Genesis, to Bereshit. We start over, but in this case, without learning. And this isn't renewal, this is repetition. The Torah teaches that every ending should leave us with lessons. Moshe didn't look at the past with nostalgia. Moshe looked to the future with responsibility. We, on the other hand, repeat the same thing, expecting different results. We didn't understand that if you do the same things, you'll always get the same results. Most importantly, in our case, we already know what we'll pay and receive. Write it down. More kidnappings, more funerals, more speeches. Bezot Abraha asks us to close a cycle with wisdom. Israel sadly is closing it with amnesia and madness. The truth is, I admit that I feel my children risked their lives in vain. I feel that we endured 2 years in Israel. For what? To go back to the same thing? I am very sad. They beat us and we must admit it. He will never leave Gaza, will keep ruling and will rebuild all we destroyed. But now they will be stronger, stronger than before and more than before. Generations of terrorists will grow up, this time supported by countries like Spain or Colombia. A shame they beat us. Moshe is giving his last speech in this weekly portion from the entrance to the promised land, which, as we all know, he did not enter. He didn't enter, but he left Israel just shy of achieving the dream. It was incredible. That was his legacy. To guide them to the very edge of the promise, right where it began. The responsibility of the people didn't abandon us in the desert, it left us facing the future. Today's leaders, on the other hand, at least for me, are leaving us facing the void. There is no vision, no project, no promised land behind their speeches. I only see exhaustion, interest, and yes, fear. Moshe climbed Mount Nebo to see what his people would inherit. Our leaders go up to the podium to look at the polls. He wept for his people. Do they just weigh the political cost of pain? He spoke with God. They talked to image consultants. Moshe. The difference is not about the era. Keep that in mind. It's about purpose. Moshe didn't seek power, but meaning. He didn't leave ministries, but values. Meanwhile, he gave tribal blessings that united Israel. 12 tribes were united. Current politicians sow internal divisions that are bleeding us dry. They don't inherit a promised land, they inherit a confused land, parties in conflict with fragmented faith. To a tired people who no longer believe in prophets or judges, that's the feeling. When Moshe died, the Torah says, and no prophet like him ever arose again in Israel. Maybe that's also our modern tragedy, the tragedy of Israel. We still have generals, strategists, ministers, leaders, people with a lot of charisma who can even speak English, but no prophet. Without prophets, the path to the promised land becomes a desert repeatedly. Moshe left us on the edge of the future. Our politicians are leaving us on the edge of the abyss. He saw the land from afar and believed in it. They walk on it every day and seem to have stopped believing. They are cowards in the synagogues of Israel and the world. We are completing the Torah and will soon roll the scroll back to Genesis, as I mentioned, and repeat the process. Unlike the Torah, which we learn differently each time, even though we read the same verses, because we change, because the world changes. What do I know? The reality of Israel will remain the same. We're going to roll back the scroll, but with the same promises, the same speeches, the same mistakes. That's how I feel. Up there, Moshe must be looking and saying, didn't you learn anything? And you know what? He's right, because we keep writing the same chapter with different names. Today, everyone talks about endings and beginnings, but in the end, nothing changes. Netanyahu clings to power as if it's eternal, surrounded by advisors who ignore everyone. He promised us security and left us a country of hostages, promised us firmness and negotiated with terror, with murderers, promised us unity and left us divided even in our souls. That is not leadership, it's fear disguised as strategy. I don't expect a politician to be like Moshe, but at least not to contradict him. Moshe left blessings, not excuses. He left vision, not calculation. He died looking forward, Moshe did. He died on Mount Nebo, not looking for an internal enemy to justify his own weakness. That's why when I reread the end of the Torah and see Moshe passing leadership to Yosef and Joshua, I wish today's leaders also knew how to step down at the right time, with dignity. Because the saddest thing is not that we don't cross into the promised land, but that we get used to going around in circles while we think we're moving forward. And so we close the scroll, open it again, and Moshe is once again waiting for us on the other side of the Jordan, as always, with the same question as always. How long are you going to keep repeating the same story? Sure. Have a good week, everyone, and hopefully the politicians are right and I'm the one who's wrong. May there truly be eternal peace in the region, throughout the entire area, and all over the world. And may I be able to tell you tomorrow about the release of all the living hostages and also those who have died. Amen, Selah. This was Bakari Suelto in Israel, father of 5, with over 4 daughters-in-law and a son-in-law, all reservists in the Israel Defense Forces, speaking to you. These last few years have been ones we'd all rather forget. But here I am in Israel, writing history, proud and strong, knowing what I'm doing, knowing what every Jew in the world needs to do. Keep in mind that criticizing is not hating. It's trying to fix something you believe in and love. I want to believe politicians know what they're doing, have good intentions, and that this is true, inshallah. Hopefully, it'll be the first time they pleasantly surprise me. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up His countenance upon you and give you peace.